First, here's what my constituents might believe. They believe that before Sarah Palin writes a book, she should try reading a few. She should read the Climate Change Impacts in the United States report. She should read the Climate Change 2007 Synthesis report. She should read the Analysis of Effects of Global Change on Human Health and Welfare in Human Systems. She should read the Climate Change 2000 Physical Science Basis. And most importantly, she should read the National Academy Science Report of 2007 that looked at this issue in England and concluded with 90% assurance that in fact we are heading down a very dangerous road due to human-induced climate change. There is no question about scientific consensus in this regard, and this is why this is so galling. The former vice president suggested that the former governor who quit as governor of Alaska was a denier, and her attitude was one of denial. It is worse than one of denial. It is one of defeatism. And you have to ask yourself, where does this come from if you're ignoring the clear science? It comes from an attitude of defeatism. The defeatists who we hear on the floor of the House and from Sarah Palin believe that we cannot build electric cars to solve this problem. The defeatists believe we can't build solar thermal plants to solve this problem. The defeatists believe that we can't compete with China to build a new clean energy economy. And we're going to go to Copenhagen, and the news is we're going to be undeterred of leading the nation and the world to a new clean energy economy. That's point number one. Point number two, and this really is the issue that I think is legitimately one that we all have to ask, and I've talked to some of my constituents, and I talked this morning to Dr. Ralph Cicerone. He's president of the National Academy of Sciences. And I asked him about this contrumps, this flap in the UK. And he told me two salient points that I think are very important. Number one, yes, it is always important to find out if there has been any shenanigans in the scientific process. And we are confident that the folks in the UK are going to review this situation, and if in fact there was anything that was untoward, they will get to the bottom of it. And that's important from a scientific integrity standpoint. But Dr. Cicerone told me the most important point is, if you took the United Kingdom off the map of the face of the earth, if Dr. Mann had never been born, there are thousands of threads of evidence and data sets, many of which come from NASA, NOAA, and the US geologists, which conclude that this has happened. So the story is, and let me suggest a new headline for this story. The headline for this story is, number one, deniers cannot produce one peer-reviewed journal. Not one. There was a review of 928 peer-reviewed journals, and every single one of those basically did not disagree with the basic conclusion that has been reached in the American consensus. The deniers have not produced one. The headline is, with all the millions of dollars they're spending on PR, they can't produce one peer-reviewed journal that suggests that all of these things, from the Arctic melt to the Greenland melt to the acidification of the ocean, is caused by something other than human-induced issues. That is a headline for you. And here's what I would suggest the situation we're looking in America today. If you're standing on the tracks and you see a train coming down the tracks, you don't stop to take a look at the blueprints. You respond to the train. And this is the time to react. I want to share one photograph, if I can, with you that to me indicates, and this has not been discussed much, and I think it's important to note. The controversy, such as it was in UK, dealt with temperature issues and temperature records. And the National Academy of Science reviewed those records in 2007, and they concluded, based on American scientists who don't work for any oil companies or coal companies, that in fact the conclusions were correct, that there's a high degree of certainty that humans are causing temperature changes. But there is an entirely separate threat that we have to respond to starting in Copenhagen, and that is the threat of ocean acidification. This is the threat that the oceans today, according to Dr. Luchenko, who directs the NOAA labs, of our research that doesn't have anything to do with the UK research, is that the oceans today are 30% more acidic than they were in pre-industrial times. And the reason for this is that our CO2 goes into the atmosphere, falls into the oceans, goes into solution, and creates acid. And that acid has now made the oceans 30% more acidic than they were. The UK contremp has nothing to do with this issue. And let me tell you why this is significant. Dr. Luchenko showed an experiment that NOAA conducted. This is a picture of a pteropod shell. These are very small creatures that form the base of the food chain. These little creatures are 40% of the food that our salmon in America live on when they're in the oceans. The oceans are becoming more acidic, and they will be much more acidic at the end of the century if we don't do something starting in Copenhagen. And what they did is they took a pteropod and they put it in water that's of the same acidity that they will be at the end of the century. And this is what happens. At 15 days, it starts to lose some of its calcium carbonate because that goes into solution in the acidic water. In 30 days, it loses more. In 40 days, it's just a little pile of mush. And there's another one that shows it essentially disappearing. The reason I am showing you this is a dirty little secret, if you will. It's a little hidden bomb of climate change and ocean and CO2 pollution. And the point, I hope, a headline that someone here might write, is that the oceans have the potential of dying and the food chain being disrupted unless we act. And I don't care if the people were communist plot in the UK. So I hope someone will think about it. I'll just leave on this one note. I think we have a responsibility here. I think the scientific community has a scientific responsibility here. But I want to suggest that the folks in the room with cameras and pens and recorders have a responsibility here too. And I'm going to suggest what it is if you allow me just for a moment to step out of my role. Right now, the debate that is being portrayed in America, they see two talking heads, one who says there's a problem and one who says there isn't a problem. And they get the perception that this is a 50-50 deal. 50% of the scientists believe it, 50% don't. I hope that you will fulfill what I hope is your responsibility, which is to tell the people that tens of thousands of scientists around the world have reached this conclusion. And none of them have printed a peer-reviewed journal that show another suggestion why this is happening. That's a headline. That's a story. I hope you'll tell it. Thank you.